Hey everybody, so this is going to be the last onboarding video, and in this video I'm just going to talk about a couple of things that have to be done. And if you don't do these things, you're going to fail. You're going to fail in this company, and they're going to seem really basic and obvious. I'm making this video like a month after I made all the rest of the series, but I started thinking about it, and I heard something that really resonated with me. The best NFL football coaches, the people who lead a team the best, they attack the fundamentals. They just continually repeat the same basic things over and over and over. And I thought, I don't do that very well. I'm a much higher level guy, so I need to just sit here and attack some of the basics. And what happens is when you get into these difficult situations in the sport, in the football game that they're in, they already know because they've been told over and over and over what needs to happen. So let me review some of the most basic, foundational, fundamental things that you have to do. You have to reach out and talk to your direct supervisor every single day. If you don't do it every single day, you've already failed. And we want to grow with you. We want you to come in and begin to learn, and we want to get to know who you are, and we want that communication process. If we don't have that communication process, it's very, very difficult to build up the trust, to really understand what we're doing, and it slows everybody down. In fact, for me, I'm leading a team right now. I want them to check in with me when they get started, wake up basically, and when they're finished for the day. So at the end of the day, I want them to tell me what they got done, when they expect to get whatever project they're on done. In the beginning of the day, I'd like to hear, hey, I'm starting on the job. That's just communication. And we do this with our clients as well. We're very aggressive with communication, and you have to be. If you're not communicating, you're not doing it well. And that continues on into the actual delivery of the job. A couple key things that I need from you. Number one is I need to know how many hours you worked on it. Fundamentally, you could be here 3 years from now, and I still need to know how many hours you worked on it, because that's how we invoice our clients, and that's how we decipher some of our payroll. Our goal is to get you to a salary position, 100% get you to a salary position. But we get there by managing that expectation of how long projects take. And so in the beginning, that's a very key part to it, is how long do you think it should have taken, and then also how long did it actually take you? We've got some estimators that by the end of the month, they're not getting any faster, and we go, look, it's not going to make any sense for us to work it out. But you'd be surprised just how generous I would be if you were open and honest and we saw the improvement and you were moving into the position, and like, we'll give salaries to people very, very quickly if that's the case. So you have to tell us, how many hours you worked. Another big thing, you have to use our filing system in OneHub. The reason that we do this, I'm looking at a job right now. A client called me. He's got questions on it. It's a 24-hour long job, so it's a giant job. It's not in the OneHub. It didn't get uploaded. It probably failed because it was too large. And I understand that, and I'm frustrated, but I do understand it. But from where I'm sitting, I can't interact with the clients. We can't go back and look on it. The manager can't even step in and try to help because he doesn't have it, and somebody's sleeping right now. So you have to put the things in there. And I'm telling you this, I would put it in every single day. When you check out, at the end of the day, when you're signing off, put in the Excel sheet you're working on. Go for it. Put it in there. Put in the Plan Swift file that you're looking. Because if your computer dies, if your internet goes out, if you can't make the deadline, whatever, we have the information. And believe me, I've had at least 15 estimators lose their computer over the last couple of years. It sucks because now we're all in a bad situation. It's not the situation that you want to get into. You want to be able to say, I'm going to get a different computer, I'm going to borrow my friend's computer, and I'll just download it, and we'll just make it work. That works, right? As you continue on, when you deliver a job, you have to give us notes. And really, in the first couple of jobs, maybe in the first 10 jobs, I don't care how many it takes, you have to have that communication with your manager. You have to do it. If you don't communicate with your manager in the beginning, there's no chance that you're going to improve. And I will tell you this, just as an aside, as we talk about this communication process, I have people coming in right now who are very, very, very well trained, and they know more than the vast majority of people I've ever hired. I have some of the best hires in the last 6 months I've ever had. I can tell you what happens. You develop that communication, and you may suck. This is your quality level, and theirs is way up here. You go, that's fantastic, okay? If you can figure out a way to keep rising, I don't care that you're not here. I care whether you can continue to improve on what you're doing. And you're only going to do that through communication, because communication is fundamentally how you're going to learn this job. See, you can't go out into the field and build a wood frame structure. You can't do it. There's no job out there. You don't have any experience. So the only way you gain experience is having that conversation. And so if you're a person that goes, I don't like talking, I don't want to do this, maybe you'll rise up and then you're going to get stuck, and maybe you'll get stuck to the point where we can trust you to deal with one of our clients, and then I guess it's okay. But man, we are doing this right now. We have a clear goal for every single one of our employees. You are paid whatever you're paid. We want to get you to a higher level. That is a goal. The only way you do that is communicating. So you have to start right in the beginning, communicating on every job that you're delivering, the timelines, every single day, twice a day. I don't care if it's with your phone, with wherever. If you stop communicating, I'm going to lose faith in you, and I'm going to get really, really frustrated. The next things I'm going to bring up are just very basic technical things. One of the number one things that you have to do on every project is check the scale. I can't tell you the number of jobs that we've had where the scale is wrong. Just very, very basic stuff. It can be drawn wrong, and it's their fault. Hypothetically, it's their fault. It doesn't matter, because it frustrates. Sorry about that. It frustrates and confuses everybody. So every single job, every single page that you do, check the scale. Okay, I want to see an actual point where you drop down and figure out, 1/4 inch equals an inch or equals a foot or something. I want to see that drop down, and then I want to see you actually check on the bottom to make sure with a dimension line that it's the same. If you don't do that and you miss the scale, you are going to lose a lot of trust both in us and our client. Every single job, check the scale. Check, check, check the scale, okay? Another thing, check the index page that you are working on and make sure that every single page is correct. When you load it up in PlanSwift or Bluebeam or however you're loading it up, especially PlanSwift, you have to rename the pages. You have to go through and organize those pages not only in your mind. Okay, this is the plumbing, this is the notes page, this is the symbols page, this is the site plan, you have to go through and do that. If you don't do that and you just leave it as is, it just seems like you're not actually paying attention, because how are you going to notice if there is a missing page if you don't organize the sheets? How? You can't. On the back end of that as well, especially when we talk about organizing the sheets, if I have a giant apartment complex and you are taking off only the siding, I don't want 200 pages in your giant file that you're trying to transfer and this and that, and it's loading and it's destroying your computer. Delete all the garbage sheets. You don't need them. If I don't see that you're deleting the garbage sheets, number one, I know you're going slow because your computer can't handle the 500 sheets. Number two, I know you haven't organized the pages and really looked for what you're looking for. I know that. And I'm not saying you have to delete every page, do meticulously. Just, you don't need any of the disability pages. You don't need any of the civil, okay? You don't need any of the life safety. You don't need the structural plans if you're just doing siding. Figure out what you need and then delete the rest. You don't need it. So you're cleaning up and you're organizing. You have got to learn to be organized. So many people are going to come into this company. Some are communicating really well and they're completely disorganized. Some are extremely meticulously organized and they don't communicate. You've got to figure out how to be the best version of yourself in order to go forward. So you have to clean the sheets. You have to do it, okay? So you've scaled your pages. You've cleaned the sheets. You've checked in and made sure that all the sheets they have listed are listed. If you have to identify what the set is. If it's a construction set, there's probably not a page missing. If it's a 50% set where we're just doing a budgetary estimate, there are probably pages missing. And you need to recognize that and recognize the kinds of job that you're working on. Okay. The main thing that you have to look at is you have to review your work at the end of it. You have to review it. So go in and make sure that based on the work that you're doing, that it makes sense. I'll give you an example this week. It's so simple. We did a flooring takeoff. Look, the closets, the janitor closet usually doesn't have flooring in it, and it's just a concrete floor. I'm sure it's the same where you guys are at. In the lobby, it's going to be really nice flooring. In the back of the house, in the kitchen, and it doesn't have the same flooring. We had an estimator that just didn't notice. It was 2 letters. I think it was like instead of concrete flooring, it was like ceramic tile was CT and concrete flooring was CF. They just didn't notice. The texture was very similar, so it was hard to see. But you have to go through and you have to check those things. If you submit those jobs and you do it wrong, you've screwed yourself. And I know that that takes time to build up. What is normal? What are you normally seeing? What's reasonable? Especially in the more difficult trades like wood framing, you really don't know what's normal when you're coming into this company. I get that. But flooring, finishes, think about why they're doing the finishes as you're going through. Most of the takeoffs, I mean, you're drawing pretty quick. It's not that hard. Understand why they're doing it. If you don't take the time to really double check those things, I mean, it's ridiculous. At the same point on that check, you need to look at the project as a whole. Take a big step back. Take a step back. We just had somebody that submitted a job, and they forgot to multiply it by the number of buildings. It was an apartment complex or a townhome development, and there were 5 sets of buildings. And he did the takeoff. All the numbers are correct on the takeoff for 1 set of building, but he didn't multiply it by 5. And so our client was very, very far off. Luckily, he's in a region where the general contractors are friendlier and would say, hey, I think you missed something. Can you go back and check for me, right? We get feedback as well. Like when I talk about communicating between us, if you want to go win a job, you have to communicate with the general contractor. Our client, their main job is to call the GC and say, you got my numbers. What did you think? Did you have any questions on it? The same review process that we're trying to get you to do, our clients do. So don't think I'm being weird. This is an expectation of a successful company. Thankfully, during that conversation between the general contractor and my client who submitted the bid, the GC said, hey, your numbers are way lower than everybody else. Can you just go back and check? So he went back and he checked and went, oh my gosh, there's definitely something wrong. And it was just multiplying the number of buildings. These are so simple. They're so simple. But the real problem behind it is if you're taking it all away, and in this client, we're only giving quantities, which is part of the problem. If you look at it and you put a dollar amount on there and it's $1 million and it should be $5 million, that should scream at you. You need to have the recognition when you're going through the job. Okay, I got multiple buildings. Let's look at it. I only have 10,000 square feet of concrete slab. That doesn't make any sense. There's 5 buildings. You know, you need to be able to have that sense in that check. So look at it at the end just for reasonability. The same thing happens on the scale. I knew that a scale was wrong on a project that I just looked at because I looked at the total. I can't remember what it was. What were we doing? It was like, I know it was the perimeter. I think it was the roof. It was definitely the roofing. I looked at the total perimeter of the edge that they got because there's a flashing on the edge. There's an edge flashing. It's literally called edge flashing. It was like 145. It was like 145. The building's 145 feet wide. It's impossible. So you're just looking at the numbers that you put in and going, is it reasonable? You know, when you get going, you're probably not going to miss super, stupid stuff. You're going to miss these little things as you go. Like, that's really what's going to get you. And if you don't have the feedback, again, you have to communicate. You have to get feedback. Get feedback from the client. We have a whole series that I'm making right now. This is how you communicate with the client. This is how you get feedback. This process is so important. It's not that hard, guys. I mean, that's the last thing I'm going to say on this video. You do all these little fundamental things correctly, and you do them every time in a row, and you just burn it into your head. Get it in your head. This is what I have to do every time. I have to check the scale every time. I have to check to see if I'm multiplying it by the right buildings, if what I'm doing makes sense for the takeoff. You get that burned into your head, you're going to do very, 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 very well. So communicate with your manager. Start today. You have this video. If you already have a manager assigned, reach out to them. Say, I watch the videos. I'm going to start communicating with you every day. Go for it. Get after it. There's no amount of saying hello in this company where we will get annoyed. There just isn't. As long, maybe twice a day, start of the day, end of the day. Every day. We love it. I love it. I want to hear from you, okay? Let's get after it.